Okay, so I may not have read everything on my TBR for the month of April, but my April reading was definitely better than March and February and January. So welcome to my April wrap-up. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week. It's true, I really do, I promise. And then movie reviews here at the weekend again. Business as usual. In the description box below you will find links to my socials, my blog, and my Goodreads, so you can keep up with my reading in between times. I have a review of one of these already on my blog. However, I do have a couple that I need to review because they were review copies, and so those will be coming up very soon. So if you prefer a written review, make sure you go there. So I had an ambitious April TBR. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked up above. And really thought that with the Easter holidays, with me having 2 days and 2 weeks and 2 days off Easter, I would do more reading. But then I just spent the first half sort of recovering from the last 6-week term, and then the second half moving house, so that didn't happen. So didn't read quite what I put on my TBR. However, I definitely read more. So the things that I did read from my TBR, I did listen to the audiobook of With This Kiss by Carrie Fletcher. If you knew how your love story ends, would you dare to begin? So basically the main character in this one, when she kisses people, she sees how they're going to die. And this is quite scary. But this made this whole book feel just like a fairy tale. And I listened to this while I was unpacking in my kitchen and unpacking in my bedroom. And it was sort of nice to have there and nice to listen in one big chunk because you could really get invested in her predicament. There's a lot about sort of subtle things to do with mental health in this, and sort of taking care of yourself and taking care of your mental health, because, you know, if you knew how your love story ends, would you dare to begin? It's a lot to take on. I think this one was adult fiction, but I'm not sure if it was YA. It felt like the younger end of adult fiction, like not my age, basically. So that was nice, but it was just kind of like, it was okay, it was sweet, it was nice to listen to. So then the other April release that was on my TBR that I did read was The Girls by Bella Osborne. I managed to read 40% of this one whilst I was away. That I thought I would easily read this one, no problem. I picked it up, I was like, yeah, and I was really enjoying it, but then just life completely got in the way. So I switched to the audio version and finished it off on audio. I did 40% on holiday, then read like an extra sort of 20%, and then binged the last 60% when it came out on the very 1st of May. So I'm still counting this as an April read because I read the majority of it in April. But this one is Bella Osborne writing under a different publisher. So the same publisher that she wrote The Library under. And this one again has a sort of serious twist to it. It's about these girls who have reunited after living together when they were much younger and having wild times. And Zara, who sort of brings them all back together, is a bit of a celebrity, but is really getting on and not feeling in the best of health, and so kind of wants her friends around her for the end of her life. And so we sort of see how their adventure pans out. I really enjoyed the parts where the women were all together and kind of reminiscing and reuniting and all that side of things. I thought it was funny and I thought it was very real. And then there was a bit of a sort of crimey twist to it where we had some like, oh, suspicious stuff going on. Wasn't such a fan of that part, but on the whole it was generally wholesome, and the beginning of it was definitely very funny and had me laughing out loud. So I think I enjoyed the beginning and the middle more than I did the end, which I've never kind of like separated a book into, just sort of broken it down into those sections. I like the beginning, I like the middle, not as much the end. But yeah, so I still thought it was enjoyable, and I still just like, yeah, really love this cover. I think it's gorgeous, is the cover. There we go. There's the cover again. Just love those suitcases. It does just make me want to go away on holiday. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things I was doing instead of reading that was booking a holiday. Then a little surprise, sneaky inny audiobook. You know, when you put a hold on an audiobook from the library and then you're like, oh, what was this that I put a hold on again? But it was How to Find Your Way Home by Katy Regan, which was another one that I also read while sort of unpacking and doing a lot of toing and froing in the car. And this one says, what if the person you thought you'd lost forever walked back into your life? And this novel delves a little bit into kind of homelessness and how close we are to homelessness and how it can feel if you have a home but a relative of yours does not, and how it can feel not being able to help them, or whether they want help, and trying not to sort of make someone feel powerless. And I really love the way that Katy Regan explores these real subjects. She's just such a fantastic writer, and I love listening to everything that she's crafted. This was one of those books where it kind of like sweeps you into it. You feel immersed in it. So even when I was finishing it off on my like first commute back to work after the Easter holidays, I was still completely immersed in it, even though I was on that early morning commute. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I highly recommend it. I am in the process of writing a review for my blog, but it's one of those books that just feels hard to write a review for, because you want to do it justice and you want to do the subject matter justice as well. I think that's part of it. So really, really recommend it. Adult fiction, no sort of necessarily romance in there. But yeah, from the heart, definitely. And just really, really lovely writing. And then we have something else that was actually on my April TBR, or was it on my March TBR? So this was another one that I listened to whilst doing a lot of unpacking. And I'm glad that I did, because it required a level of concentration as well. And I'll read you the tagline and you'll know why. This says, 3 dates, 3 women, 1 missing man. So this book has these 3 women who see this guy no show on them, basically. And we sort of figure out that there's a link here, but we're not really sure what that link is or why. And it's a multiple narrative, so we get to switch between the 3 women, and we do get to see something from our man. I'm not going to name the man, because the man's name has different meanings and different names throughout the book. So yeah, it was really different. If you're thinking that this one is going to be like the Fletcher and the road trip, it's really not. It's very much its own thing. It feels a little bit more in the sort of direction of Danny Atkins, a little bit more in the direction of a Rosie Walsh. There wasn't a lot of humour in this one, which I definitely found humour in the Fletcher 100%. And then the switch as well, I absolutely loved. The road trip, I wasn't such a massive fan of. But this one, again, even after having fully finished it, I'm not sure 100% how I feel about it, because it was just so much to take in, and I'm so glad I was able to listen to it whilst unpacking and give it my full attention, as opposed to sort of having a 25 minutes here and there on my way to work and back. But it is adult fiction. It will be, of course, linked in the description box. All the books I talked about will be linked to the description box in case you forget any of the titles or authors or release dates or anything like that. Everything's always linked down below for you, so always check that description box in case I miss anything. And then we have one of my most anticipated books of the year. We have Unlock Your Storybook Heart by Amanda Lovelace, which is just too shiny. I don't want you to see all my unpacked boxes. Basically, it's Amanda Lovelace's latest. Now, I don't have a physical copy of it because the US copy always comes out earlier than the UK copy. I always buy the Target special edition of these, and so I'm just going to like hold off until next time I'm over there and in a Target, and I'm going to get the Target special edition, because generally it has extra features and extra things that you can read, but it's also a different colour. And I feel like the difference between when it comes out in the US and when it comes out in the UK is like really long time. So I get that one on audio from my library in the US, and so it's read by Amanda Lovelace, and it also has some bonus additional material where she sort of explains what state she was in writing her poems and stuff like that. So that's been a favourite of mine to listen on audio for the last 2 that I've been over here for being released, but I'm also excited to go through those 2 in physical form and tab them up, which is how I like to read an Amanda Lovelace book. So then we have another of my anticipated books. We have Insatiable by Daisy Buchanan. Now you might remember that I had this and Careering on my TBR this month. Again, it's like too dark of a book that zoom you all the way right in, but then you see the reflection of yourself. This one was a lot sort of sexier than I thought it was going to be. I know that this is a love story for greedy girls, but I really enjoyed sort of the way the sex scenes in this one were written. I thought they were very realistic and very sort of real, and you could tell that they'd been written by a woman. And I really liked getting inside the head of our main character in this book as well. I think that it's something that, you know, we're not always open about women talking about their sexuality and their sexual desires in society, and so having someone that really was, and having someone that was openly talking about this in this book was fantastic. Really recommend it, and I still have my beautiful Waterston Sprayed Edges edition safely tucked away. And then finally, a reread. I had obviously read this book. I have a whole video talking about it. I have a whole Lindsey Kelk playlist. We are of course talking about On a Night Like This by Lindsey Kelk, which I absolutely loved. I have the beautiful finished hardback edition that I talk about with a little bit of vlog footage from a signing in that video, so make sure you check that out. But here's what the paperback cover looks like. Oh, but basically I listened to this one on audio. It's narrated by Carrie Fletcher, and I was on a road trip with my mum and my dad, and they both enjoy a Lindsey Kelk novel as well. I can tell you my dad was killing himself laughing in the back of the car. I'd obviously read it before, so I wasn't laughing as much at any of the jokes, but sometimes there was laughter coming from everyone in the car, and afterwards he could not see a San Pellegrino in orange without commenting on it, so that tells you enough about that. But it was lovely to reread this one so quickly, and I'm excited for the paperback release of it, because it's so pretty. I might have to get a paperback of it, but it's basically a bit of a Cinderella retelling with Taylor Swift on the cover. Apparently there's lots of Taylor Swift references in there, but I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, so those go over my head. There are references to other things in there, and they may be a character from a previous Lindsey Kelk novel that crops up in there, which was wonderful because it was like revisiting an old friend. Lindsey Kelk does that so well. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because that is everything I read in April. Everything was read in audiobook, so I'm not going to talk about what format I read what book in. But if you haven't seen my May TBR already, I will leave it linked in the end screen. I do have some books that are not audiobooks that I'm going to be reading in the month of May, and it is going to happen. You're going to manifest and help me make it happen. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive about it. And I think that even if we just read one more thing in May than we did in April, it's winning 100%, even though I did have 2 weeks off school in April, but we're not talking about that. Anyway, as always, do let me know in comments what you read last month. Let me know if you read any of the same things as me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell, because I have some movie reviews and a book versus movie and a reading vlog coming your way very soon. All of those are planned. They are all ready to rock and roll, so you're not going to want to miss out on those. And yes, thank you so much for watching.